If you had to choose, would you pick hiding in a hotel from a pack of intestine-eating dromaeosaurs, or try your best to put as much distance between you and a dinosaur that is literally confirmed to hate humans with every fiber in its body? So, what will it be, folks? Red pill or blue? That's the decision all of you watching will have to make, and whichever you choose, you will have to survive for at least a week, or whenever you get picked up. The Jurassic franchise has two main islands that are mentioned: Isla Sorna, where a lot of the dinosaurs were originally made by InGen, and Nublar, which was meant to be a park for tourists. Each island has similar dinosaurs with some variants with a few outliers. I'm sure we all know the disaster that happened in Nublar just from a power outage. T-Rex broke out, raptors became rampant, and everything just went to hell. Without getting too deep into it, I'll just go right ahead and say the obvious. If we use the dinosaurs in Nublar from the first Jurassic Park, they would be child's play compared to Sorna, because all Nublar had at the time were a few raptors, delos, and a rex, while Sorna had a greater diversity of things that could tear you apart. So we'll be using Nublar after the Indominus breakout and everyone is evacuated, up until the Nublar 6 left the island to go to Manticorps. Now if we're going to do this, we're going to have to bring some dinosaurs from the novel to Sorna, to keep things fairly even. Before I continue to the main points of this video, consider hitting that like and subscribe button, as it really does help in the algorithm. And man, do I need it, since YouTube age restricted the video for a very stupid reason. But hey, if you don't like the content, that's fine too. I'm just glad to have you here. Anyway, I've stalled this long enough. Let's get into it. So the first thing we have to take into consideration is terrain and climate. Both Nublar and Sorna have a tropical climate because they are, well, in the tropics. While you may not have to endure freezing winters or tornadoes, the heat and cold in between the dry and wet season would take its toll on the most hardened of persons. If you were stuck in the dry season, you'd have to deal with temperatures exceeding 90 degrees Fahrenheit, which would cause a lot of you to develop a heat stroke. As for the wet season, you'd risk hypothermia if you aren't able to find some sort of shelter, which would kinda only be possible in Nublar. It may have a lot more dinosaurs, but hey, at least you have abandoned hotels and other structures to seek some sort of shelter without attracting the attention of the dinosaurs too much. In contrast, Sorna doesn't have many structures. The only one you'll likely run across is the laboratory, and as Eric said, the raptors live very close to that spot and even patrol the building. So unless you're able to get a lucky break like Eric and find an upturned truck or something, chances are that you're going to be exposed either in a hollowed out tree or up in said tree to avoid getting mauled as you're taking a snooze. The only things that could almost be as dangerous as the dinosaurs themselves are the arthropods. Costa Rica has a myriad of different critters that can make you very ill or even kill you, and these hypothetical islands wouldn't be any different. With the climate being hot and humid most of the time, the biggest threat of course would be mosquitoes. These little bastards kill more people than every mammal or reptile combined every year, with diseases like dengue, malaria, Zika, etc, etc. I don't know if any of you have ever gotten malaria, but I can tell you it's horrible. Probably not as bad as the first time I got food poisoning, but it's terrible nonetheless. Your skin is extremely sensitive and you get so hot to the point where you just start saying stuff. For me, when I was around 12 and in my bed, I kept telling my mom, bite the bullet. I don't even know why I kept saying that. Usually when you tell another person this, it means that they will pass, but I heard it from a movie and thought it meant that the person who said it will die, being me. Needless to say, it's still something my mom teases me with to this day. Usually malaria symptoms don't occur until the 8th or 9th day, but it can come earlier. Dengue on the other hand can show symptoms by day 3 and could be fatal. You weakened by an illness trying to escape dinosaurs is not a good mix. Even if you are a Nublar and have infrastructure to stay inside, chances are that you will have to go outside at some point for water or food. Unless you're stuck in a hotel, of course, then it's just a jump from room to room. And not to mention with how much forest is cleared in Nublar's public spaces, the mosquitoes shouldn't be that common at certain points. On Sorna, however, you have no shelter unless you find some upturned truck Eric did, and you will continue to get more and more sick to the point where you get nauseous, and vomiting at this stage means water loss. And hydration is key for such an illness, so this is not optimal. So it's fair to say that you could die on Sorna before the dinosaurs even get to you. Aside from the mosquitoes, these islands would likely have similar fauna to that of Costa Rica that could pose a threat to us, including bullet ants, spiders, centipedes, assassin bugs, etc, etc, the list goes on and on. So in terms of overall environment, Isla Sorna is definitely worse than Nublar, because at Nublar you even have a chance of running into a sick bay or something, but in Sorna you gotta suck it out while trying to stay off the menu. Speaking of menu, I think it's about time we get into the biggest question. In terms of dinosaurs, which of the two islands is worse for your health? Since we're not using animals from the first Jurassic Park and instead everything after the Indominus death, until the Nublar 6 leave the island, we will add some dinosaurs from the novels that were in Sorna as well as dinosaurs in Jurassic Park 3. Strap in because it's a lot of dinosaurs. Since we're talking about Nublar after the Indom was gone, she's not going to be mentioned, but there still is something else to take her place, which is more lethal to humans. I am of course talking about the Scorpius Rex, which was technically the first hybrid we made. This thing was not as large or powerful as the Indominus, but it has more than enough power to one-shot a person. It is one of the few dinosaurs that will hunt you down not for the sake of hunger, but because that's what it has to do. The Scorpius has a bunch of deformities, including cancerous growths along its body and random seizures that may hit the animal due to so many different species being within it. This thing will usually try to kill anything that moves and doesn't account for hunger most of the time. We see this when it jumps from parasaur to parasaur just to bring a moving target to a stop. That wouldn't bode well for us as the animal is relentless, not to mention it has venomous quills it controls like a ninja. And even if you manage to escape, once those quills hit you, you're almost 100% done for unless you get the anti-venom. But let's say you manage to lose the Scorpius and hide somewhere. The island still is filled with a bunch of small to medium-sized theropods that wouldn't mind making an easy meal out of you. We got the Carnotaurus, the Ceratosaurus, and the hunting baryonyx squad, each of which can outrun you in an open field or even in a dense forest. But to be honest, the smallest theropods would be your biggest ops, including the Monolophosaurus and the last raptor on the island. I know most of you already know that it's Blue, but you are not Owen, and Blue sees you as food. The only reason she left Darius and the others was because they had some sort of understanding when it came to the Scorpius, and he has plot armor. You do not have that luxury. Blue and the Monos are faster, stronger, and more agile than you. Your only saving grace would be if you hide out in the building for a while. For your sake, make sure the doors are locked because these ones can fit through whatever door you can. And how could I forget, Rexy is here too, so you better make sure whatever building you're hiding in can withstand a small bulldozer running through it. The danger scale is much higher than the first Jurassic Park as we have a high density of carnivores on the same island. Although Nublar is very large, you have a good chance of seeing one of these theropods. But let's be real, in this scenario you're in, it's likely that you were one of the people who weren't able to make it to the evacuation in time, and you have to wait a while until help comes for you. And during this time you will be waiting out in a hotel. However, as we've seen in Camp Cretaceous, there's a chance that some of the medium-sized theropods could also be in there with you. But overall, if you manage to pick a vacant one and locked every exit, you should be safe until help arrives. Isla Sorna is another thing entirely. Sorna may have less carnivores, well, in terms of species because they aren't lacking in number, I'll get into that later. But the one thing they don't have that Nublar does is shelter to ride it out. That's right, there is no closed door structures here except for the places Spinosaurus can get through. The dinosaurs on Sorna are much more cunning and bloodthirsty than Nublars. Remember, unlike Nublar, the dinosaurs here have had decades to adapt, grow, and spread out across the island. At this time, there are 6 Rexes on that island you have to watch out for, and if the bull was anything to go off of, it's pretty clear that even if these guys are full, they still are going to try and eat you. It also had medium-sized theropods like the Ceratosaurus, but the smell of dung seems to deter them. But there's one group that won't care. Remember how I told you I'd bring a dinosaur from the novel? Well, here it is, the Carnotaurus. Not the Jurassic World Carno, the ones that are smaller yet more deadly. While the ones in Jurassic World are kind of fodder for the T-Rex, the ones here are actually feared by the megaceropods at night. These ones can camouflage better than the Indominus and are fast enough to catch up to you with a running start. They won't make a sound, and since the island has been abandoned for a while, it's overrun with jungle and rainforest, so chances are that by the time you see that tree looking distorted, the jaws will already be around your head. There wouldn't be a way for you to directly avoid them when trekking through the jungle to get to a clear point. But fine, let's say we take the Carnos out. The raptors in Jurassic Park 3 are arguably worse. They literally camp the main form of shelter you have, and unless there's a tree nearby, once one spots you, it's over. If they sense humans nearby, they may implement traps. Perhaps some canned food they found somewhere in the island, or a communication device like a walkie-talkie. They may place these items somewhere where they think you are, and when you go to pick them up, you're gonna get jumped. If you're asking if they can do that, well, yeah, it's highly possible considering that they hurt a dude just enough so you wouldn't die, but showed signs of life that would attract other persons wanting to help. While not confirmed, it's very likely that there are dozens of these guys spread across the entire islands on different parts, with possibly their own distinct look. If that wasn't enough, you have the embodiment of hate tracking you down once you set foot on the map. This theropod was able to track a group of people all around the map no matter where they went or where they hid. And if this terrifying persistence wasn't enough, it's the largest theropod in the franchise. I'm of course talking about the Spinosaurus. After countless years of experimentation when it was a juvenile, it has developed a hatred for humans like no other creature. If I'm being honest, you probably have a better chance of hiding from the raptors than this guy. And with nowhere to hide really, there is nothing you can do to stop him from tearing you apart. Typically you would want to hang around the airstrip since that's where your rescue will arrive, but it's so open and there's no cover. Yet if you don't hang around too close, you could miss them, or the noise could attract the Spinosaurus' attention. Both islands respectively have their own upsides and downsides, equipped with a plethora of different things that could kill you. If I had to guess, I'm sure you'd probably say that Nublar, after the park shut down in 2015, is more dangerous due to the amount of dinosaurs loose. But as they say, the animals in Sorna are not dinosaurs. From deception to blatantly killing because they hate the species, Sorna's dinosaurs are something you would not want to mess with, especially when considering that there's absolutely nowhere to hide for long until you need to get water, and there is a chance of you getting dengue. So it's either you die from dehydration or by being torn apart, most likely. Even if we take the novel carnos out of the equation, I still think Sorna still is overall much worse than Nublar. Obviously, if you were dropped in the middle of Nublar's jungle far away from any sort of infrastructure, then it would be more deadly than Sorna because of just how many theropods are on the loose. But if you're in a well-developed area with buildings that contain food, water, and no dinosaurs already, you could wait it out until help arrives. So yeah folks, that's just my opinion on which island is more deadly, if you were to be on it. Sorna's dinosaurs, or monsters I should say, just add to the island's dangers, including the already disease-ridden fauna. But let me know what you think. Do you believe it would be much worse if you were in Nublar after the events of Jurassic World, or is Sorna still considered a no-go? An interesting topic that I actually decided to make because of one of those analog horror edits I saw. Glad I made it, to be honest, it was interesting. Anyway, that's enough for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.